Yo, what's going on, and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. And today we're doing something a little bit different from what I normally do. You can see we're not actually in Genshin Impact because we're going to be talking about what's coming up in 1.4, what you can look up to, or look forward to, what you can expect. And I haven't really done anything like this before because I figure that a lot of other people are talking about news, but I saw some stuff in here that I wanted to be able to share with you guys, and I wanted to try something a little bit different from what I normally do. Now, what you can expect to see in 1.4 is going to be a new event, new enemies to fight, new character, which we'll get to, some returning character banners, some new weapons, as well as a free weapon that you guys can earn and fully refine. And if you watch this video, then you will see a few Primogem codes. So they also have some other stuff, but the important thing that everyone wants is Primogems. They're going to appear throughout the video, and I'll make sure to pause at those for you. But those are only available for today, so if you're watching the video on the day that it comes out, you'll be able to redeem those, each for 100 Primogems. I will also leave a comment down below that will have all those codes for you, as well as some older codes if you missed them that aren't time limited, and then I'll link you to where you can redeem those if you don't know where to go. But either way, that is what we're going to be doing today. So why don't we go ahead and get started. They had their little live stream where they show stuff that's coming up in the future, and I went through this video and kind of picked out what I want to talk about. So we're going to start here with the event that is the Windbloom Festival. Now, the Windbloom Festival is going to take place in Mondstadt, so we were just in Liyue doing the Lantern Rite Festival, and now we're moving on to Mondstadt to do this Windbloom Festival, which is related to Venti and the Anemo Archon instead. Now, here you could see a lot of the decorations. And with the Windbloom Festival, we're going to have a lot of different mini games. You can see, like here, you're going to be sprinting and dodging bubbles, collecting flowers and dodging falling platforms, dodging some little electro hypostasis things. And then we got other mini games like shooting these balloons, and you will be able to accrue points. This one's a mini game much like the gliding one, where we're falling and collecting these little balloons. And then finally we have this like Dance Dance Revolution-esque lyre playing mini game. Now when we're moving on to the next thing, there's this new thing called Hangout Events. Now it's important. Oh, I skipped it just barely. So the Hangout Events are a series of events that are going to be around forever. These aren't going to go away after 1.4. So the Windbloom stuff is all going to go away. So you want to make sure that you get that stuff done. But this you will be able to do whenever. You can see 4 characters here. We got Barbara, Noelle, Chongyun, and Bennett. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you can, it's a kind of like a Genshin Impact dating sim, so I find it kind of funny. I'm sure it'll have a lot of interesting story, especially since most of these characters we didn't even have story quests with to begin with. We had a little bit of Barbara, but not that much. We haven't, I don't even know that we've met Noelle. We might have like seen her in the Knights of Favonius headquarters or something, but as far as I know, we haven't really seen a lot of these people besides the fact that they're playable characters. So make sure you look forward to that. And then moving on, we have the new character that everyone's looking forward to, and that is Rosaria. Now here's a little bit of Rosaria, just an initial look at her, but we'll take a look at her abilities a little later. She is a cryo polearm user, and you can see there, her title is Thorny Benevolence right here, but she also has a new polearm. So these are going to be a new class of weapons, which we'll also look at in the future. And so here we have a new boss. Well, we've seen Oceanid before, but it's a new Oceanid boss fight. It's got some different mechanics and stuff, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But you can see that Lisa here is wielding a new catalyst, and then the Traveler has a new sword. And then we also have Fischl with a new bow and Diona with a new bow. This is actually the bow that you're going to be able to earn for free and fully refine as long as you play through the event. So I would recommend at least getting that if you're not interested in rolling on what likely is going to be weapon banner weapons. Here you can see Venti has a new 5-star bow, which we'll also see a little bit later. Now, the next new thing is we got this really cool guy, the Abyss Herald. If you remember in the story with Dainsleif, we were chasing down an Abyss Herald, but we never actually found anything. So this is going to continue that story. And there's also this mysterious statue of the Seven that is chained upside down in the background here. So this is going to be really important for the story. Now the boss appears to only be, he's not like a reoccurring boss like Child or Dvalin or the Wolf. For now, you're only going to be able to fight him in the story, and then hopefully later on we will see him some more. But moving on to the next thing, here are kind of the rewards you can expect to get from everything. You have these two gadgets, this balloon and this lyre, from a lot of the mini games here. And let's get to the next one. This Oceanid fight, you'll be able to get this new pet that's like a little mini Oceanid, much like the Sealies that we got. We have this arena where we'll be able to get Primogems and lots of normal materials. And here we have the Hangout event series. You can see it's series number 1. So I'm sure we will be seeing more of these in the future with new characters and such. This is going to give you Primogems, adventure rank, as well as ascension materials for each character. So it's going to be very useful in just getting you a lot of rewards. So now that we've talked about all of those, like we've essentially reviewed everything that's going to be in here, let's get started with the new character, and that is Rosaria. So Rosaria is a cryo polearm user, which we met earlier in the story, and we'll take a look at her abilities here. So this is her basic auto attack string. Looks like the attacks look a lot slower than most polearm users, and more like they're probably going to be more powerful. So if we want to look at her separate abilities, let's go ahead and move forward to the first one right here. So her first ability, she is going to teleport behind people. So you can see here we've got this giant hilichurl, and she'll teleport behind him. It'll deal ice or cryo damage and freeze him. And if she combines that with one of her passive talents, when she's behind people, she will get increased crit rate. So this skill is going to be really good for enabling her to get behind someone quickly, and then she'll have increased crit rate, so you can stack a lot of crit damage with her and deal as much damage as possible. If you combine it with freezing, like it does here, where this guy is standing in water, then it'll give you a lot more time to actually hit them in the back. Now let's go take a look at her elemental burst as well. Right here. So she's going to summon an Ice Lance. She'll drop it right here, and then the Ice Lance is going to pulse out ice damage. So she's going to make a really good support for other characters like Hu Tao, much like how Ganyu works for supporting Hu Tao with her elemental burst. This is also going to just continuously reapply cryo effects. So she's going to be a really strong support, but it also looks like she's probably going to be pretty good at DPSing. So it just matters is what you want to use her for. She might go really well with Chongyun, because if you build her full DPS and go lots of ice or cryo damage, then changing her auto attacks to cryo damage with Chongyun's elemental skill is going to be really useful. Now if you're looking to get Rosaria, then we're going to look at the banners here. Come on, internet. Okay, here we go. So these are the banners that you can expect to see during 1.4. We're going to have 2 characters coming back, and that is Venti as well as Child. Now I'm looking forward to summoning for Child because I already have Venti, and I really like Child. I think he synergizes really well with a lot of the characters that I use, like Ganyu, Hu Tao. He'll probably work pretty well with Rosaria. He's just a really good character in general. He works really well with Beto. So he's a character I'm definitely interested in summoning for. And as far as we know so far, the only new character during 1.4 is probably going to be Rosaria, which is a 4-star. And you're going to be able to find her on A Farewell of Sneznaya, which is Child's banner here. So people who are rolling on Venti, you won't be seeing Rosaria on there, but you will be seeing her on Child's banner. So you might want to take that into consideration before you pick which banner you want to go for. Venti, obviously, if you don't have a Venti, he's going to be really valuable to add to your party. But if you do have a Venti like me, and you don't have a child, you might be looking towards this banner to get Rosaria as well as get child, which is going to be really nice. Now, let's move on and look at the new weapons. So here are all the new weapons. Got this 5-star bow. Now, we don't really know what any of these do quite yet. I haven't looked at it. They didn't describe the effects of these, but we got Elegy for the end, as well as a new set of 4-star weapons called the Alley weapons. And I don't know, they kind of, based off of what they look like, I can't really tell you what they do. I don't really have an idea. Like with the earth ones, you could kind of guess that they would relate to shields around Zhongli coming out. But I'm not really sure what these are gonna do, but they could be really good. We'll just have to wait and see. And does this show the other 4-star weapon that we can earn? No, it doesn't. Okay, so we'll move on to the next thing, which is the new boss. Now, like I said earlier, this guy is only going to be a one-time fight. They did say for now, so it is possible that we will see him in the future. He's an Abyss Herald from Dainsleif's quest. So we'll be continuing Dainsleif's quest, and I don't know how far we'll get. Obviously, Dainsleif's quest sounds like something that's going to continue on through the entire story of Genshin Impact. So just doing a portion of it now, it's likely going to end in a cliffhanger, and we won't get to finish up his quest until we get much closer to the end of the game. Now, there was one other thing with this boss. You can see that he kind of looks like a water character, and here this little screen confirms that. You can see the little hydro element lit up here, so you can assume that there are going to be other Abyss Heralds of different elements, probably for all of these elements in the future. Right now we have the Abyss Herald of Wicked Torrents, which is the Water Abyss Herald. Now, we are going to move on to our first code of the session, which is right here. Nope, just barely missed it. There we go. Okay, so these codes, I'll have them in the description so you can copy and paste them. It'll probably make it a lot easier, but here it's going to expire at this time, so make sure if you're watching the video today that you get it in right now. It's going to be 100 Primogems for you, plus some weapon level up materials. Now, moving on to the next thing, we're going to go look at those mini games that we saw earlier in the trailer. Where are you? All right, here we go. So the first mini game, you're going to be shooting balloons. It looks like I don't know if you have determinate characters. It's almost always Venti or Child that are doing these. But you're shooting balloons for points. Some balloons will give you more points, some will lose you points, so you need to be careful. Now, the next one we are doing is the falling event, much like when we had the gliding event. This time you're falling and collecting points. And you want to collect as many points as possible. And then you have to land in a specific little ring near the end. And it looks like there's some like little things that will add fun to the thing, like these flowers that push you back up into the air. I think like those things will self-destruct. And here's the goal. It kind of moves, but then it seems to stop moving. So once you reach the goal, you'll get a score, and you're trying to earn a high score so you can get all of the rewards. What other events do we have? Oh, I see what's coming up next here. We got... So here, these are the rewards that you can expect to see that are going to be permanent. I'm not sure what you're going to use the balloon for, if it does damage to people or what, but you also have this lyre that you will get, and you can apparently just make songs out of it. So I'm sure that people will start to play songs from other games and other popular songs in this game, which could be pretty funny if you learn a bunch of stuff, or you can make your own songs. Apparently you can play in co-op as well. So let's move on to the next mini game that we saw a little bit earlier, which is collecting these flowers. You can see there's a lot of different mini games where you're going to be collecting flowers, because that's kind of what the whole festival is about. This one, you're kind of standing on a small box, and the platforms are going to drop below you, so you need to make sure that you're on the platforms that aren't falling. Now here's a little memory mini game for you. I can already tell by looking at this one that I don't know I'm going to be very good at it. I usually have a pretty good memory, but when I'm not looking at it top down, it's going to be significantly more difficult for me, I think. But maybe that's just because I'm watching it in a video and not like out there actually doing it. You can see here he'll get about like halfway and then the things will disappear, so you have to remember where everything was. And here is a screen of all the rewards you're going to get for the festival. We got some talent books for, I don't know if it's all talent books or just Venti talent books, and I don't know if it's all weapon ascension materials or just these, but obviously we'll get a crown. I'm not sure what the visible winds is. I don't think they talked about that at all. Here you have the bow, which you'll be able to get to refinement level 5, so I would make sure you do that, because a free weapon at refinement level 5, like the Festering Desire that we got from Dragonspine, is a pretty good weapon. So, and that one was free to get to refinement level 5, so I would make sure you do that. Again, don't really know what you're going to use the balloon for. Lyre, you can play songs, and then your basic rewards that you would expect. It looks like this this part of the event is going to get you 1,000 Primogems, which is pretty good considering they've been kind of slacking with how many Primogems they've been getting you in the past. Now, moving on, we're going to go talk about the little hangout events from earlier. Whenever it decides to load, it looks like to play these hangout events, you are going to need to use your story keys to actually unlock them. I'm sure everyone has plenty of story keys, because if you do your dailies most days, then you probably have already unlocked all the story quests required, and you're not really doing anything with those keys. You just keep doing your dailies and never getting any keys anymore, because there's a max number of keys you can actually get. But again, this is going to be available past 1.4, so you'll be able to do this as much as you want. And there's going to be a whole bunch of different endings because you're going to make choices with the characters and like conversational choices. So you'll get to a whole bunch of different endings, and depending on what endings you get, you'll be able to see different stories as well as get different rewards. But if you get an ending that you don't like, or you want to go get more endings, you're welcome to retry as many times as you want and get all the rewards possible. Now, moving on, we're going to have code number 2. Again, they're going to be all in the description down below, so you can copy and paste them. But here, this one, all the codes that are in the video are going to be limited to today, so make sure you grab them now. These are worth the most Primogems. The other ones that I have from the past aren't worth as much. Now, we're going to be moving on to the next thing, which is the Oceanid, like, little boss fight that we saw earlier, but there's also some other stuff going on with it. So, right here. So you can see that we have this little Oceanid pet, and you're going to travel to different areas and capture these Oceanid creatures, and that will get you some sort of material to unlock rewards. And you can see that this right here is limited. It's going to expire, but you should be able to get a permanent version of the pet if you actually do the event. And he looks a lot like more detailed and stuff than the Sealy. I'm sure that I'll probably use him instead of the Sealy, because I just like what he looks like. You should be able to get this pet permanently. Where are the rewards are coming up here in just a second. So these are the rewards you're going to see. Primogems, Mora character XP as expected. This little pet dude that we should be able to keep. And then Heart of the Spring is going to be like an event item that you're going to get, and you'll trade it in for the actual rewards. So that's what that is. And you should get that from doing various things like capturing as well as maybe fighting the boss as well. But let's move on to the actual boss fight, because the boss fight is pretty cool, because we've all done the Oceanid boss fight in the past, probably, assuming that you've ever wanted to fight him and been interested in what this thing on the map is, even if you haven't built a water character. But you can see that in this one you can actually hit the Oceanid, which in the past you can't actually hit the Oceanid. You had to just kill the mirror images until the Oceanid fight was over. But this one's got some new mechanics, like you have to stand on top of this water geyser to dodge this giant beam of water, as well as you can actually hit the Oceanid. And characters like Ganyu or Rosaria might be really good for this, just because you could freeze all the little creatures or lightning the creatures with Kaching or Beidou, All that kind of stuff is going to make this fight really interesting. I'm glad that they did this, and I don't think that this will still be available afterwards, but maybe they'll look at changing the Oceanid boss fight a little bit, because this seems significantly more interesting than the current one we got. Now moving on to the next thing, we got an arena here called the Contending Tides. Now this is going to give you Primogems, Mora, weapon enhancement, character level up, and talent books. And so everyone's probably been to Daraupa Gorge and gone to this little arena here, and I think there were some quests that we did in the past. But now we are going to have a cool arena that is going to... It's kind of like when we did the event with all the hypostasises, where it had different modifiers. You're going to have a time limit. There's going to be different difficulties for you to do, but if you start at the hardest difficulty, it'll count as completing the easier difficulties. There's also going to be special challenges, like different things that you have to meet the prerequisites of during the actual fight to complete the challenge. So if you don't do what it says, then you probably won't actually complete the challenge and get the rewards. So you'll have to pay attention to what's going on, and it'll force you to fight differently and not just be like a normal beat up all the monsters because you're stronger than them. So the final thing that we have to talk about out of 1.4 is there's going to be some system optimization changes. Where are you? Should be right in here. Okay, here we go. So now you're going to be able to hold 5 condensed resin. Currently you can only hold 2, which is... I haven't really ever used condensed resin, but I see why people would. If you don't have anything like valid, like talent books or something to farm during a day, then you can kind of just like bank all of your resin. Plus, if you make the condensed resin, it counts as using 2 resin pops instead of 1. So it can also make your farming faster. So there is that. Making 5, it's kind of like a meh change. Like, it won't affect that many people, but it might help some people who can't play every single day and want to be able to bank their resin. You can now bank a little bit more than a day's worth of resin, essentially. Now, the next thing is if you've cooked things, then you've noticed that you can get something to proficiency where you can auto-cook it. If you auto-cook, then you can't manual cook anymore. So they just made it so you can now go back and manual cook things, which I guess only matters because some people already had all things completed. So they had nothing that they could manually cook. So they couldn't make suspicious dishes, which there's some achievement for. So they were locked out of getting that achievement. Now, what we're looking at here, we also got some cooking, crafting, and forging actions optimization. All that is when you pick a character to do something, like say you go to the crafting table and you want to make some nectars, some whopper flower nectars, and you pick sucrose to do that because she has a chance of giving you extra materials, then in the future, every time you go to make nectar, it should always pick sucrose for you, and you don't have to go through that giant list of all of your characters to find sucrose on it. It should save whatever character you last did the action with, so that should be useful and make it so you don't have to constantly be going through that list. The next big change, in my opinion, for some people, it doesn't really matter if you're strong enough, but if you're having troubles and you moved on to the next world level difficulty, then you're going to be able to lower your world level by 1, and this will make it so, say you ascended too quickly and you weren't actually ready for the new world level, now you can move it down 1. Now you are sacrificing rewards when you do this, so you need to take that into account. If things are too hard for you, this is definitely something that you're going to want to do, but if it's not actually too hard for you, I would just ignore this completely, because it'll just decrease the rewards of things in the world, the Leylines, as well as the world bosses. And finally, something that I like personally is a small change to Spiral Abyss. Spiral Abyss, you are now going to be able to retry during an actual challenge. It's always been really annoying where, say you're taking too long, or one of your characters dies at the very beginning because you did something stupid, and you know you're not going to be able to beat the stage. The only thing you can do really is leave for now, and then you end up outside of the Spiral Abyss. You have to come back in and do it again, and like you get to start from the same place. But there's a whole bunch of like loading screens and stuff that aren't really necessary. So now they're just going to have a retry button there for you. And then we have our last code for today right there. Again, this one also only available for today, so make sure you put it in. It'll be a comment down below, and that should have a whole bunch of different codes for you. If you can do all the 3 first ones for today, that's great. But if you come at a later date and you want those other old ones that don't expire, they should give you a little bit less Primogems, but something. Hopefully that's all useful for you. I thought this was something different that I'm doing. News for 1.4, haven't really done a news video or like looked at their live streams or anything in the past, so let me know what you think of this, if that's something you want me to do more of in the future. I feel like maybe I went too slowly and we could have gone through some of the things faster, so let me know what you think down below and I'll try and make changes accordingly. But either way, hopefully you enjoyed this one, hopefully you found it useful, hopefully you get all those Primogems, and I will see you next time.